Sanam aloha. Welcome to the live stream. And it looks like I'm live. Mic is on. Great. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the last step uh, before this new year. Before this new year. So if you could put your human design type, if you want to, in your profile and human design type. And if you don't have your chart, always go to the information box and there's a link there and you can get your free chart. Okay, so hopefully you've been watching my last videos and the new year. This is exciting this year. That's why I'm so focused on it. So remember that the sun goes all the way around this mandala. This is the human design mandala. And when it gets to the 41, right there, when the sun gets into the 41, then that's the start of the new year. So that's January 22nd, 2024. Okay, good. You can see that. Okay, so just to review, December 31st, the sun was in the 38 all the way up here. Okay, so is that New Year's energy? No. You want to watch my last video? I talk more about this, but this is just about finding or discovering your soul purpose. That was the purpose of this energy here. What's worth fighting for? What do you feel passionate about? Okay, so this is about reflection. It's not about initiation, right? Initiation is January 22nd. So then we moved into January 6th, and then that moved into the 54. And that was about who are my allies on my soul purpose. So we're reflecting back who was with me, who dropped away last year, right? Who was a block to my soul purpose. So if we look at this is a meme that I posted a couple days ago, I think, or maybe it was yesterday. So a shark, and I check this out, it's true. It's not an urban myth. So a shark in a fish tank will only grow 8 inches, but in the ocean, it will grow to 8 feet or more. So the shark will never outgrow its environment. And the same is true about you. So this is the 56 or the 54, right? The 54 energy. And remember that the new moon was in here too. So it really put a focus on this energy for us. And this is about looking at the people around you. Are they unable to transcend their victim story? Or are they doing the inner work to grow and expand? So your environment matters. And it's said that you become like the 5 people that you hang out with the most, you become those 5 people. Okay, so your environment is really, really key because in human design, you're under a conditioning field. You're in that aura of those 5 people. So you want to make sure that they're high caliber, right? High caliber people. And this means it doesn't mean that you don't talk about your struggles, in your life, but you don't stay there, right? You don't stay there in your victim story. Okay, so that's that 54 energy. And then we're in the 61 right now, right? So the sun is in the 61 right here. You can see we're getting closer and closer to the 41, right? So the 61 we're in now, and then on January 16th, in 2 days, we're going to move into the 60. Okay, so I want to talk about the 61 a little bit more to give you a little bit more clarity, and then the 60. And so this will help you, especially if you're not able to come to my superpower online retreat for some reason, which I'll be going all over the whole year, the energies because it goes really, really in depth, right? That new energy chart for according to human design, go through the energies and what to expect. And then also about the roles that you play, one of 36 roles, well, 3 of 36 roles that you play, and what's correct for you. And your superpower is really your authenticity. Okay, but I want to stick with this. So there's a link below if you feel called to attend. Um, okay. So, the other thing I wanted to say was this. Was we're in a Capricorn party right now. All these planets, this is January 19th, but they're already in here. It's January 14th today. So they're all Pluto, the Sun, Mars, Mercury are all in Capricorn. And the moon is in Aries on the 19th, but right now it's in Pisces. So it's a weird energy in my experience. And this makes sense. It's been so cold. I don't know what the temperature's like in where you're living, but it's really, really cold here. So that's Capricorn, right? It's very, very, very cold. So this is telling us right here that we're leaving a cycle, right? Human design is saying we're leaving a cycle, and then uh, Western astrology says the same thing. So look at the 19th, right? Pluto and the Sun are going into Capricorn at the 29th degree, right? They're joining forces. And then on January 20th, I don't have it here, right? Pluto and the Sun both go into Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius. So this is like an ending, the 2929, something that we need to see that will be illuminated for the collective and you as an individual, and then moving on to Aquarius, starting a whole new cycle, right? It slips back into Capricorn later in 2024 for a brief time, and then back into Aquarius for the next 20 years. So we got a lot going on. Okay. So let's go to the 61. So the 61, did I not put, let me see. I thought I put okay, there it is. I wonder why that didn't make it. Okay. Okay. So there's the chart. It's like just less than an hour ago, actually. I pulled this up. So there's the 61 right there. And there it is. The sun's in the 61 here. So this is the crown chakra. Okay. And it's one of these gates. And I said before, these are the crazy gates, 64, 61, and 63. Because in reality, this guy's head should end about here, shouldn't go up here, because this is out of the body, right? It doesn't belong in the physical form. And this is that's why I call them the crazy gates, because they're elusive. They're in the crown chakra, just above your head, your physical head. So this 61, this is a pressure, right? It's a mental pressure. And so this is the energy that we're in right now. And remember, this is all preparing for it to get down here, right? To the 41. That's when the sun goes into the 41. That's the start of the whole new human experience for the next year, 2024. So 61 and then 60 and then 41, and we're off and running, right? So you can see the 64 and the 60, they're kind of bookends, aren't they? Okay. Okay, so let's go to this 61 and talk more about this and how you can use this energy. Okay. So here's a question you can ask yourself in this energy that we're in right now. Inner truth. It's the gate of inner truth. So what has blocked me in 2023? Remember, this is about reflecting back on 2023, right? And so that you can move forward in clarity, because this isn't initiation energy yet, right? That's not till January 22nd. So what has blocked me in 2023? So right away, you don't want to go to your mind. And if you got an answer right away, or you've thought about it, you're thinking, and then it pops up the answer, well, it's going to come from your ego and your mind. You want to bring this question in deeply into your being. So this means to surrender to the question, surrender to the question. What does that mean? It means to give yourself time and space. You're not thinking. You're just like, you just ask the question, you put it in the well. Okay. Imagine that you have a rock and then you just put it in the well, and it's a deep, deep well. You don't even hear a splash yet. right? That you don't even hear the splash that it's reached the bottom yet. It's like that kind of energy. You've just dropped it and you've let it go. And this means to surrender to the question, right? Surrender to the question and then open yourself up. Open yourself up. So, what does this mean? It means becoming empty of thoughts, empty of all thoughts, empty of any pressure. Don't put any pressure on yourself and be neutral, right? So this is the neutral mind. The yogis call this the neutral mind, right? You're just open, empty of thoughts, and you certainly let go of other, like if you feel that others' opinions are coming up or other people's judgments are coming up, you want to let go of any ego commentary that comes up, right? Especially if it's going into blame and complain, because that's victim, right? Blame and complain, that's your ego. It's their fault, right? They blocked me in 2023. What did they block me from? Okay. Did they block me from projecting my ego's projection of what my ego wanted? No, that's not a good question to ask, right? The best question to ask is what blocked my spiritual development in 2023, right? What blocked me from growing and evolving as a spiritual being having human experiences on this planet? That's what I mean, what's blocked me. Okay? So it has nothing to do with the ego's projections. Okay, so you want to let go of all of that. You don't want to let that in at all. That's just going to taint. It's going to poison the well. And then you become the observer, right? You become the observer. That's neutral. I'm neutral. I'm just watching. If you're a meditator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Observing without attachment, right? Opening myself up to insight, right? And then you accept what you see. You see the patterns, right? So how this works for me is like I'll just have some images will come to my mind. I'm not trying; they just surface, right? They're coming up from the well. They just surface of a pattern that was being played out in 2023, right? So when you do this, when you just allow and you become the observer and you're detached, well, this allows your awareness to penetrate through any shadowy blind spots, right? So the awareness can penetrate through the shadows, something that you can't see, but your awareness can see because your awareness is always awake, even when you're asleep, sleeping in bed at night. Your awareness is still there. It's still awake. It's seen everything, right? All your actions, all your thoughts. So it's like you're almost watching a movie of yourself, right? Little highlights from the movie will pop up in your awareness, okay? And then this is giving you information about what has blocked me in 2023. And this is when you gain valuable insights. And you see inner truth, it's coming from deep inside you, right? These insights are coming deep from deep inside you. And that means they're true. So you're not running and looking to another person, right? Tell me what has blocked me. What do you see? What do you see? That's giving your power over to the external. You want to keep it inside, right? You want to be doing this for the next 2 days because we're in this energy right now because you're preparing to initiate, right? For 2024. So let me see here. The other thing too is you want to look in the valuable insights will be something maybe that's been controlling you. It's been controlling your life in 2023, maybe even previous to that, right? So some kind of dynamic could be a person, but it's really a dynamic, right? That's playing out. And so if we look at back to this chart, because we always want to look on the other side, right? So we've got the 61, and then the other side here is the 24. So they make a channel here. So the 24, this is the shadow of addictions. And so with addictions, It's about the mind, right? It's the gate of return. So this is the mind. It's like a broken record that's just caught in this groove. Remember records? They get caught in the CDs have these too. Caught in a groove. Skip, 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 skip. That's the mind. It gets caught in this loop with addictions. So so it's repeating things over and over and over again. So think of this, the inner truth, right? I'm asking the question, I drop the stone in the well, and then what the mind does here is it repeats, right? So just let the mind do its thing, is what I'm trying to say. Detach from what your mind is doing. Don't, and just watch, right? Just watch and trust that that answer will come up, and it will be a real answer. It will be true. So, so with this, we have to look at the shadow of addictions. Maybe it is addictions that have been playing out. Maybe that's what's been blocking you, right? Our whole culture is rooted in addictions. There's the usual suspects of drugs and alcohol, but there's also addicted to negative thinking. There's addicted to social media now. There's addiction to focusing on other people, right? So to look at that too, but it originates from the mind, and then you start to act on the thoughts of the mind, and that creates behavior, and that creates these dynamics that I'm talking about that are blocking you, Okay. So you want to go into the inner purity of your heart, right? Trust that, the inner purity of your heart with the 61, the inner truth. And the shadow up here of the 61, that's psychosis. That's the shadow of the 61. And psychosis is not rooted in reality. Okay. So it's not what psychologists mean and psychiatrists mean. The real world is the spiritual world. It's not the Maya. It's the upside down world that we live in right now. So the true meaning of the shadow of psychosis is you're disconnected from your spirit, right? You're disconnected from your soul, or you believe that you are, because nobody can disconnect from their soul, but they can believe that they're disconnected from their soul, right? So the psychosis is that you're rooted in your ego and mind, right? You're not in reality. You're not in reality. So so this is the psychosis would say, well, you've got no spiritual, there's no such thing as spirituality. It's this unknown force. I can't sense it with my five senses, so it's not real, right? So therefore, I don't have a spiritual purpose. What are you talking about? I go to the purpose of my ego, which is to accumulate more and more and more and get inflate itself up, right? And that's the carrot, right? The carrot that most people follow into their graves. Um, so let's look at some things like possible things. Okay, so addictions could be one. What's blocked me? Maybe a lack of Uh, well, doubt. What's doubt? It's a lack of faith. Maybe that's what's blocked me. Maybe this is an addiction, right? Those thoughts immediately go to what could go wrong, right? I need a backup plan. I need a plan B. I need a plan C. And it's about doubt in the divine, lack of faith, like something like that. So you want to dig these things up, right? The time that we're in right now, so that you can see them. And it's just bringing that awareness to allow it to penetrate through those shadows so that you can see them. That's all you have to do is just see them right now. That's the point of this energy. Okay. So let's go back to here. And what's your larger goal for 2024? Okay, so you're going to come back to this and get your journal out and write it down on a piece of paper. What has blocked me in 2023? And then let your being and your mind, the correct use of your mind as a tool to help you, right? Get that answer. So what's your larger goal for 2024? Right? So what I hear a lot from people is soul purpose. I want to do my soul purpose. Right? So maybe this is it. Maybe this is your larger goal. This is a pretty good goal to have. Well, you can't do your soul purpose unless you know yourself, right? You need to know yourself. And this is especially true for generators and manifesting generators. Out of all the types, they have to know themselves, right? They have to know themselves. This is key for these types, right? Otherwise, okay, I'm trying to do my soul purpose. I don't have any idea who I am. Really, I have no idea. Uh, I only know what people told me I am, what my mother and father said I am, what my teacher said I am, what my priests and extended family told me who I am, right? My professor told me I'm this and I'm that, and I'm gifted here and there. You don't know who you are. All you are is just a bunch of conditioning at that, right? And this is most people. I'm not judging anybody here. As most people, we were born into this not self world. So you have to know yourself first. I wouldn't even go to soul purpose until you know who you are, right? Know yourself. And then out of that, and know yourself is to know your authentic self, right? This is when you're one with your being, that eternal self, right? That never was born, never died. Then you're connected to your authentic self. You're connected to your soul, right? So this is knowing yourself. So human design is just a tool or a raft, like Buddha talked about. These teachings are just a raft to get you from one place to the next, get you to your original self. Kundalini yoga and meditation is a raft. Human design is a raft. Gene keys are a raft. They're just tools. They're not the end, right? Destination, which the irony is not a destination because you're not going anywhere, right? It's just the realization that you're already that, right? But we need tools because we live in this Maya. So the raft is to get you to your authentic self. And then from this comes your soul purpose, right? That emanation comes from inside you, right? But it's here. So keep that in mind. Okay, so my larger goal is I'm committed to being my authentic self in 2024, right? I'm committed to love myself unconditionally in 2024. That's a better way to go. That would be my guidance. Go here first, and then out of this will come soul purpose, right? Um, and just know that you're supported in this. Life supports us because they want this. That life is authentic, and of course, we resonate with authenticity. So everybody rejoices, right? All authentic beings on this planet rejoice when another one flowers, right? In consciousness, which means they become their authentic self. So you need self-awareness, right? You need self-awareness to do your soul purpose. And then you need self-empowerment, and self-empowerment is self-knowledge. Is self-knowledge. Okay. Okay. So dig deep with this inner truth. And then let's go to the next step. And this is the last step. Okay. So this is the 60 on the bookends, right? 61. And then we go to the 60 right here. And then Pluto's in there. So Pluto and the sun are coming together, right? Pluto and the sun are coming together in this gate, right? And then they're going to be in the sign of Capricorn, but then they move into Aquarius. It's still, this is the cusp. The hexagram here is the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. It has both those qualities. Okay, so let's talk about this 60 and how you can work with that. Well, stigma. There's a stigma to limitation. So I'm going to approach this gate a little bit differently today and how it can work for you. So there's a stigma to limitation. We see limitation as a bad thing, right? This all started in 2020 with the lockdowns. No matter how you look at it, you can look at it from a conspiracy theory perspective. but but I would suggest to look at it as from a spiritual perspective, right? Because the elite aren't in charge, the cabal's not in charge, WF's not in charge, the divine is in charge of all of this, because all comes from the divine. Okay, so spiritual. So we want to look at this from a spiritual perspective. Well, we were very limited, weren't we? This is when it started. Pluto's been in the 60th, heck, the 60th gate for a long time. So there's a stigma, isn't there, about we don't like this. We don't like to feel limited in what we can do and where we can travel and with money and lack of resources and things like that, we can feel limited, lack of energy, lack of good health, lack of relationships. When we see it as a lack, this limitation, that there's something missing. Okay, so there's a stigma there, and that's our conditioning. We don't like this. We don't like limitation. But the truth is, there's no freedom, there's no liberation, there's no mutation. This is the evolutionary change without limits. There needs to be limits. And we need limitations to rise, right, to our full creative potential. We need these limitations. This goes for spiritual development too. We need limitations even to awaken, right? So we need guidelines, right? If you're to accomplish anything of meaning, you need guidelines. And this creates a container. Otherwise, creative energy, and it's feminine energy, it's like a spiral. It just spirals, and keeps expanding and including, and expanding and including. But there's no movement. Do you know what I mean? There's no movement forward. There's no focus. It's just on like this, on contained, because it needs a container. You need both the feminine and the masculine energy. So limitations create a container. Look at water, right? Like a river or a stream, right? It needs a bank. Isn't that interesting? It's called bank, right? It needs a bank to guide the water, right? To guide the water. So look at it like this as limitation. So without limits, we get overwhelmed by possibilities and choices. Possibilities and choices. I watch this with these parents. Some parents, they they're they ask their children open-ended questions, and the child's mind and brain can't handle that at all. Even children even need a container, right? They need a container and limits, because once you've got the limits, then you know where the boundaries are, and then you can relax, and that's when real creativity starts to happen. And you'll notice that too if you have a project or a goal, or if you've been to art school, right? You're given your project, your assignment, but then you're given limits. Here's your limits, right? You work within these limits. And then creativity it has a container, so it can really start to process, right? The creative potential can process. Um, so we're overwhelmed by possibilities and choices. And Pluto is moving into Aquarius, okay? And it's moving from Earth, Capricorn, since 2008, and it's moving into air, right? It's an air sign. So this is mental overwhelm. We think that we have a glut of information now, like wait and see in 2024. And this is this complete overwhelm of possibilities and choices. And the mind can't handle it, right? The mind can't handle it. And so what happens is we move from one thing to the next, like a buzzy bee, from flower to flower to flower to flower to flower, never committing to stay long enough in one flower to receive the nectar, right? So we're just this superficial, it's a superficial way of living. So the thing is, if you don't set limits on yourself, then life will do it for you. Right? If you don't set those limits on yourself, then life will do it for you. And this is the blessing, right? So remember during this time where it's all about growing up and maturing, Pluto and Capricorn have been teaching us those lessons. That it's best if you set limits yourself and be proactive, like what your limits are, rather than this is the 2x4 method of learning, right? You want the light as a you want the feather method, right? This is like going in with your 61, right? Getting your inner truth and then setting limits and guidelines for yourself for 2024 and not this 2x4 method. Um, okay. Okay. So let's look at, oh, I did another slide too, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. So you don't want limitations to bind you. Right. So you don't want to look at them like a hard ass, like it's always going to be this way and you get rigid with your limitations. That's not the right approach. You want to take a loving approach to your limitations, right? That this is serving me. I'm setting guidelines for myself and this is serving me. So let's look at the ruler of the Saturn, and we're so in the Capricorn energy right now. So we're really being supported because Capricorn's all about let's get up the mountain, right? And so these are some of the lessons we've been learning with Pluto and Capricorn, how to be self-disciplined, right? How to be self-disciplined, how to achieve our goals on our own steam, on our own steam. This is like one of the lessons for the individual. So let's go to the 55. And this is the ruler, right? The 55.5. It's gonna move into the sixth line in 2 days, but it's in 55.5 for now. And this is very important. So more proof to me that this energy is really, really key for us right now because the 55 is going through a huge mutation. This is the solar plexus mutation that we're going to have for 2027, right? So Saturn here is the shadow of victim. So you don't want to go into victim. And this is what most people do, right? If they feel limited in their life, they'll go into victim. Why is this happening to me? And then they go into blame and complain. I'm blaming this outside force, this institution outside me, my landlord, my boss, my parents, right? Blame, 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 external, 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 right? Or I'm going to complain endlessly about it. That's the 55, right? That's the shadow. And what's the gift in the city is freedom. It's freedom. Okay. So this is saying that we want, when we set limits and guidelines for ourselves, it's going to lead to freedom, right? So don't get into victim, go to freedom. It's freedom because it's getting me to where need to go, right? Where I need to go. This feels second nature to me because I'm a self-known Capricorn. So, um, yeah, I can set goals in my sleep. Okay. So you don't want to let these limitations, you don't want to become a victim of your guidelines, right? You're self-empowered. These are the limits I'm setting for 2024. So when you're feeling limited, so maybe that you're in a space right now in your life, it's like, Michael, I didn't set these limitations for myself. And it's like, yeah, okay. Okay, I accept that. This is the gate of acceptance. Acceptance. So accept the limitation that you're in right now. And this is a time to gather your strength. It's a time to build your energy. That's why I've got that archer as my thumbnail, right? You're building the energy. You're gathering the energy. You're gathering the energy and ready to like on the 22nd, ready to go. So you want to look, so during this time, because remember we got 2 days, this we're going to be in here until the 22nd. You want to look at your resources. So yes, you have material resources, but you also have inner resources, and that's your time, right? And that's your energy, right? That's your time and your energy. So you want to look at these resources. So limitation is we're given a certain amount of breaths. The yogis say this. We're given a certain amount of breaths before we incarnate, the pranic body, right? Prana. So when these breaths are up, then we're up. That's why we do pranayama, right? We do the 1 minute breath that elongates your lifespan, right? Conscious breathing elongates your lifespan. Stress breathing is going to shorten your lifespan. So we've got a certain amount of breaths, right? Certain amount of days, right? Days on the planet. So we're limited in that sense, right? We're limited in this body, right? This body has a birth date and it's got a death date, right? So it's got a beginning and an end. But as an eternal soul, you never were born, will never die. You don't have a birth date. The real you has no birth date, no horoscope, right? But your body has a birth date. Your body has a death date, right? So you've got that. That's a limitation too, right? So you want to look at that limitation, because the mind and the ego, especially when you're younger, there's no time is different. Time moves really, really slowly, right? It's going to start to speed up fast for everybody, no matter what age you are in 2024. So you want to look at your time, right? You want to look at your time like this. So then you want to look at, okay, how do I spend my time? How do I spend my time? Am I spending time with victims, right? Who are that 55 that are in their victim story? They don't want to transcend their victim story. Maybe you're a projector and you're trying to help those people, right? You're trying to save those people. Is this a good use of your time? No matter what, you give them gems and you help them and give them real solutions, but they don't want solutions. They want to stay in that state of consciousness. Is that a good use of your time? No, right? You're using your energy. You're investing your energy in people like this, right? Or things that are habits. Maybe you're investing your energy in habits that lower your state of consciousness, that keep you far from your authentic self, right? Because you're trying to fit in. Maybe you're trying to fit in, or you want to escape. I don't want to be here on this planet. This is not a good use of your energy. Do you see? So you want to get realistic. This is Capricorn. We got a birth date, you got a death date. How are you going to spend your time on planet Earth? How are you going to spend your energy on planet Earth? How am I going to spend my material resources that the divine has given me? Am I out there like look at your debit, your bank statements, your debit, your PayPal, your Venmo. That's going to really show you what you're spending, what you value, right? What you value is what you're spending your money on, right? So really look at that too. Maybe I got to set some limits. Okay, I've got my goal is to do my sole purpose and to find out who I am. Well, then I need to invest my material. I need to invest my time. I need to invest my energy into this. This will bear fruit for me, right? Will this other thing bear fruit for me? Wasting my money on things like buying brands and things like that, so people will think I'm important, or whatever trip the ego is on, right? So you want to look at that, right? So remember, this is about commitment. Limitation, it's just about commitment. Quantum physics, there's this infinite possibility, but I'm going to focus on this, this, this. This is what's important to me in this lifetime. So commitment, I'm going to commit, and this means exclusion of other things, right? So it means you let go of other things. You can't have everything, right? Because you're limited in your time and your energy and the material. That's the reality. And then focus. It's going to mean focusing on some things. So maybe you're somebody, I want a career, right? I want this particular career. I want to be in my relationship. And then I want to do my art practice. And maybe I want to teach, right? And then I want to have a baby on top of that. right? Is the room, like, look at this. Is there room for all of this? No. And we've been conditioned to believe that we can have all of this, right? We can have all of this. So this is like you're the bee buzzing. Listen to this, generator MGs. You're the bee buzzing around and you're trying to go to all these flowers, right? But you're never staying long enough to receive the nectar, right? So this is practical, right? Capricorn's like practical. Okay. What can I practically do? Right? What can I practically do? This is setting your guidelines and your limitations. Then you can really go deep, right? Go deep into your spirituality, into your focus. Yeah. So here's my question, right? So what is your greater goal? So the 61 is like how have I been blocking myself? How have I been in 2023? How have I been self-sabotaging myself? And then you want to look at your greater goal in 2024 from 61. What's my greater goal? Okay. And then you go from there and you ask yourself, well, what are my limits? What are my limits? Right? And looking at it in terms of time, energy, material. What are my limits? Right? How do I spend my time? How do I want to spend my time in 2024? Get your schedule out, right? This is my time. Just start putting it down, right? And then how do I spend my energy? How do I spend my energy in 2024? Well, the limits maybe I don't binge on Netflix every night, like something like that. I'm wasting my time with social media because the negative forces want us completely tuned out, right? Not grounded at all. Not limited, but not in a empowered place, right? This is like your attention. Your attention is your currency is your attention. Where am I paying attention? Paying attention, right? How do I spend my money? What am I spending my money on? Right? It's just becoming more conscious, more present. How do I spend, yeah, those resources in 2024? Okay, so this is a good exercise to do before we hit January 22nd and start running, right? And start running. So you're prepared. And this is what the mandala is showing us, right? The mandala is showing us, preparing us for this when this 21 comes. And then you're going to be ready, right? Then you'll be ready. You won't be pulled all over the place and suddenly the year's up because the time's going to go really, really fast. And like, oh, well, how did I spend my time and my energy? And then you're going through this process again for the beginning of 2025 and 2027 is coming fast, right? Okay. So there's some things that just came to me, and this is where you'll end up, right? When you're not prepared, you just end up in the NPC world. And this is conformity. Pluto and Aquarius, the shadow. It's all about conformity, sameness, homogenization. And then you're just like batted around wherever the energy is taking you. You want to be in your authentic self, and that's your uniqueness. This is the higher frequency of Pluto and Aquarius, creative, self sovereign, guided by your intuition, trust and faith in the divine, and doing your soul purpose. Okay. Um, okay. So I just want to check out some comments and then I want to do a little message for each type of people. Yeah, it's really cold, isn't it? Okay. Satnam, everybody. Thomas Hall's in Chicago. It must be freezing cold there. Okay. Yeah. See that? Thomas Hall says, I left a longtime friend in quotations. Behind last year, my mental health has improved every day since. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, there's this bifurcation of consciousness that's happening with this Pluto and Aquarius. And this means it's a choice point. right? It's a choice point, and people are choosing one side of the fence or the other side of the fence, basically. And all those fence sitters, they're going to be forced to choose, right? So we can be losing people, but remember, we're be gaining more of our soul allies, right? Too. Uh, okay. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Who am I? That's the best question that anyone can ask right now, that anyone could ask in history or in the future is who am I? Who am I? We don't know who we are because when the conditioning has been we've been told who we are. And this is the shedding that's going to really take place in 2024 and for this 20-year cycle. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to do some messages for each person, not each person, but each type. And I got the ego cards today. I think the egos will make a nice good match here. So we're going to start with the manifestors here. So pipe up if you're a manifestor. Okay. So they're 9% of the population, and their aura type is closed and repelling, and they're here to receive their divine downloads, which should be coming fast and furious for the manifestors with Pluto and Aquarius, right? These are this download time, 2024. And so they're here to receive the divine download, which is an idea or some idea of a project, something that they've been told to do, to initiate. And then the next question for them is who will this impact, right? Because they're all about impact, the manifestor. And so they inform, so they share, and then they go ahead and they initiate, and this brings them peace. If they don't obey this and they're trying to be someone they're not, another type that they're not, then they're going to feel anger because they're going to have so much walls up, right? Barriers and blocks. Okay, so that's a big word. If you're in a relationship with a manifestor, this is a big word for them is impact, and that's what they want to know. Who have I impacted with my initiation, right? How do I affect other people? So if you want to sweet talk a manifestor, if you want to sweet talk them, say, this is how you've impacted me. Okay. Okay. But be truthful. Okay. So we're going to do a card for the manifestor here. And these are ego trap cards. They're I've created them. That's like my own deck. But they really help. So what do our manifestor friends need to know for this week leading up to January 22nd? What do our manifestor friends need to know? That one, they just flew out. Okay. Okay. So what do we got here? We got the give up. So these are the ego traps, ego messages that you're receiving during this time or will receive. And it's hopeless, right? So it's hopeless to give up. Ego does not want us to persevere, give up. So this is my sense is this is going to come with limitation. So January 16th, you see this, manifestors? We move into this, the gate of limitation. It's the gate of acceptance too, but it's about limitation. That's the shadow. It's limitation. Um, so this is saying the ego is saying, give up, it's hopeless, right? This is a sign, all the ego nonsense. This is a sign it's not meant to be. It's too hard, right? It's too hard. Our world is really, really soft right now. We're in hard times, but they're soft people, right? This is too hard. Um, okay. So I want to remind manifestors there's a sutra. This is a yoga sutra. There's a way through every there's a way through every block. Okay, there's a way through every block. This is one of the five sutras of the Aquarian age. There's a way through every block. Okay. So when you meet a block, right? When you meet a block or limitation, go into acceptance. Don't become a victim of your limitation, right? Go into acceptance. Okay. Because sometimes, often, the timing's not right. Maybe as a manifestor, I'm all ready to initiate, right? I'm ready to go. I've been wanting to go all year long. Well, you've got to remember that there's other factors besides you, right? Manifestors can be get very, very self-centered, right? Manifestors, and it's all about them. They don't realize that most of the world are not like them, right? They're 91% of the rest of the planet are not like you. You're only 9%. So you may be ready to rock and roll, like, yes, I'm ready to go, 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 go. I want to initiate. And I'm feeling angry that I'm not able to do that, right? Well, it's about the right time, right? So your initiation has to be in the right time. So this means to have patience, right? Have patience. Okay. And this is going to bring you out of the anger. I'm just be at peace, patience, waiting for the right time for my initiation. To initiate, I mean, right? So don't go into the ego's time. Ego wants things now. Ego is not good with delayed gratification, right? The ego wants it now. So you just watch your mind. You accept that this isn't the right time. I accept my limitation right now. I know that it's not forever because the ego will tell you this is forever and you've got to do something or not do something. It's hopeless. I'm giving up. I'm giving up on this dream, especially if you got your 6 line profile. I'm giving up on this dream that I have within me. It's just hopeless, right? That's where the ego wants you, right? That's where the ego wants you, just like tuned out and distracted, right? And distracted, not focused. So the message here is to persevere, right? Persevere, which means keep it inside, right? Getting ready, you're getting ready. And then know that you're coming close to a victory. If this hopelessness is coming up, okay, this is how the ego works. If this sense of hopelessness and I just want to give up is starting to surface in your mind in terms of your thoughts, don't buy it. Do not buy this. And know that you're coming close to victory when these thoughts start coming from the ego. Okay. So that's what I got is patience. And the other card that you got was compensation. Compensation. So that's the ego. Okay. So maybe the hopelessness is coming up, right? So maybe the thoughts of hopelessness and feeling, like despair and what's the use, those kinds of feelings. I'm just going to tune out. I'm not going to play the role of a manifester. I'm going to give up my power, right? I'm just going to try to fit in. I'm not going to initiate. Well, that's compensation, right? So compensation is when something is buried, that's authentic and true, that I'm feeling hopeless. Okay, so that's true because you're listening to the thoughts of the ego, right? So I'm feeling hopeless. I feel despair. I feel sad. I feel depressed, whatever it is. That's authentic. And the compensation could be like, um, well, I didn't really want it anyway, right? Everything's great, right? This is spiritual leapfrog would be the compensation that you feel that you're running from those actual authentic feelings of hopelessness and you're compensating by it didn't really matter. That wasn't really that important to me. Everything's okay. This is okay. This second best, third best, or whatever. Right? Um, okay. And not wanting to be seen as vulnerable, right? Because that's a vulnerable position for a manifester is to feel like you're powerless, that you have no power, right? So you'll compensate by that, by just pretending everything is fine. Oh, it didn't really matter. So people don't see this vulnerability. And this is not a time to be fake. Not a time to be fake, especially when Pluto goes into Aquarius, right? It's not for fakery, and people won't be able to hide anymore, right? 2024 and on, people cannot hide, right? It will all be out. It's not just about the internet and the lies being revealed. It goes deeper than that. It's like we'll be able to see people, like really see them and see their frequency. And if you're an empath, you already have that gift. You know who to stay away from or what they're up to, what they're lying about. They don't even have to speak sometimes. You just know you just can see the frequency, right? So we're not going to be able to hide. So compensation won't work anymore either. Okay? So the message for the manifester is limitation is coming, but just listen to the rest of my video on how to work with this limitation now, right? And it's all about timing, perfect timing for everyone, not just you. It's got to be for everyone. The people that you impact have to be ready for the impact, right? So have patience, timing, and then use this, right? Use this time to look at the guidelines that you need to place on yourself and boundaries you need to place on yourself. And a good boundary for a manifester is who has access to me, who has access to me in 2024. These are the times that I'm available, right? Just getting all your ducks in a row. Okay. Um, Anything else for the manifestors? And go back, because we're in this energy now with inner truth, go back to see what's been blocking you, right? So watch the beginning of my video. Okay, so that's what I have for the manifestors, and then let's go for the generators. Okay, so the generators, this is 35%, but with the MGs, they're 70% in total. So the generators have the nice open and enveloping aura. They're here to respond with their sacral and they want to feel fulfilled, right? They want to feel fulfilled and not frustrated. When you're feeling frustrated, generators, that means you're not operating correctly. Okay, so I'm going to choose an ego trap card and then bring it to these last steps that we're taking to the new year, and then give you a message. The generators. Okay. Okay. So what do our generator friends need to hear for now until January 22nd? What's that ego up to with the generators? With the generator friends. Ooh. Oh, okay. Okay, you got the conflict card. Conflict as it relates to these two steps. So this is yummy food for the ego. The ego loves conflict. Okay. So this is a conflict for the generators. We'll go into your strategy in a second here because you're here to respond with your sacral, yes or no. So the conflict is the head, right? Let's say your head and your heart. So the conflict is between your head and your heart, right here. So you could be responding to something. Maybe you're not responding at all. You're not even into your strategy. You're completely ignoring it. And you're in your head, right? And so in terms of the mind, because this is what we're giving our authority from. We're taking our authority from our mind and we're bringing it into our uh, our strategy, right? Our strategy. But even before that, we'll bring it into our heart, right? We'll bring it into our heart. We're taking our mind, bringing it into the heart, or even spirit awareness too, our intuition. That comes from our soul, right? So there can be a conflict here because the thing with the mind for generators, the mind is sophisticated, right? It's sophisticated. This is our mental awareness system that we've been in for a long time now, how we experience life. And then the generators are learning about human design and they're like, what? My sacral, that thing that grunts yes, right? Grunts yes or no. And your mind is like, what? You're going to listen to that, not me? That's crazy, right? So there can be a conflict. And maybe this sacral is really speaking loudly to you, you know, giving you a yes about something or a no about something. And then your habit is to go back into the mind, right? Go back into the mind to try to I got to figure this out, right? Because you've got the most conditioned mind, the MGs and the Gs of all the types. So the conflict is, should I follow my mind that has all these logical reasons why I should do this? And it's based in fear of what will happen tomorrow. That's the self node. Or do I follow this sacral, which is completely unknown, right? The mind doesn't feel safe here. The mind wants mental certainty, and it can never have that, right? As soon as you walk into the sacral and you surrender, because this is what it means. One of the meanings of surrender is surrendering to your authority, right? Your sacral. Well, as soon as you do that, you're entering into the unknown. But this has always been real all along. We're just seeing it now with the breakdown, right, of the Maya. So it's like, what do I choose? What do I choose? How do I choose? Well, you got to choose. You have to have the experience, right? It has to move from the mental. Remember, human design is a raft. It's just taking you to your original self, right? It's just a raft. It's a tool. And one day we'll just drop all of these systems. Maybe not in my lifetime, but one day we'll drop all of these systems because we won't need them anymore. We'll just be ourselves, our authentic self, where we'll just embody this, right? But right now we need tools, right? Because we live in a not self world. We don't know who we are. So do I follow my head or do I follow my heart or intuition? Do I follow my strategy, right? My authority, my strategy and authority. Um, so how this can play out. Okay. So this is maybe you're not aware of this going on. Maybe you've got a lot of conflict with people in your life, right? It's like I'm always fighting with people or people are picking fights with me. There's so much drama, right? So many problems in my relationships. There's just conflict after conflict after conflict. As above, so below, right? Is inside, so outside. So this is just when we attract a lot of conflict and drama in our life, it's just a reflection of what's going on inside of us, right? So this head and this battle between the head and the sacral. That's what I see here. Okay. So what we can do here, so you want to go to your inner truth, the 61. Watch the beginning of my video to learn more. It's activated now for 2 more days until the 16th. So this is finding out what's blocked me in 2023, right? What's blocked me. So just reflect on the conflicts you've experienced in 2023. How did that stop me from my spiritual development? This is such a waste. The talk about a waste of energy is conflict, right? Conflict and not taking responsibility or accountability for your part to play in the conflict, right? So go to the inner truth of that because you don't want to repeat these same mistakes in 2024. You want to move on, right, from these ways of wasting your energy. And then the 16th is limitation, is limitation. Okay. So setting a limit may be, setting a limit for 2024, a guideline that you're going to follow. Maybe like, I'm not going to react. I'm not going to react to people so quickly. I'm going to take a second or two, or I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I'm not going to get into conflict with other people, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it inside. I'm going to bring it inside me, and I'm going to ask that question is where am I in conflict with myself, right? Where am I in conflict with myself? Okay, because it has nothing to do with those other people. The conflict, that's just the mirror showing you that you're in conflict with yourself, right? So maybe that's a limit that you can give to yourself for 2024, so that I can grow and evolve and I can move past this dynamic, this relationship dynamic that I'm in, you know? And so the conflict could be like, well, my heart and my sacral are saying I need to leave this job, right? I need to leave this job. It's just it has no energy anymore, right? My heart is saying this, my sacral saying this, but then my head is like, well, what are you going to do for money? What are you going to do for money? You got bills to pay. You have this to pay. This is the only job that I see, the only job that I see. I'm only qualified to do this kind of work. Right? This is the 55. I'm getting into victim consciousness, Saturn in 55. Right? I'm becoming a victim of this limitation. This limitation is being thrust on me because it will come. Like I said, if you don't limit yourself, then life will limit you. And what it will do, it will boot you out of that job, that job, and where you're supposed to be. Right? So this could be the conflict that's going on, right? But you're playing it out on the external with other people, you know? Yeah. Um, what else for this? So, yeah, just go to acceptance. Yeah. I accept that I'm in this conflict, right? I'm in learning school. We forget that we're in Earth school. We're learning. So, generator, maybe you're early on to HD, human design. I'm learning how the sacral works. I'm learning to have trust and faith in myself. This is what self-love is. I'm learning to have trust and faith in myself, right? I'm going to accept this limitation as a blessing, right? This limitation is like a guardrail on the highway, so I'm not riding off the cliff. There's guardrails there, and that's life providing these limitations until I learn to set my own limitations, my own guardrails, right? Yeah. Okay. And then it's going to cause a lot of frustration, this conflict. And then you want to have that feeling of fulfillment. And that's like not wasting your energy on ego games. No wasting your energy on ego games. And this is going to empower you and it's going to strengthen your aura too, right? So you'll have more and more opportunities to respond. But it's baby steps, right? With human design. It's said that it takes 7 years to uncondition ourselves at the cellular level. But you can fast track this too when you're eating the proper foods and in the proper environment. I have that in my recorded readings. Yeah. Okay. Saturn for the generators and conflict. Yeah, just getting that's what I'm hearing. It's just getting your mind out of the way. That's what's creating the conflict. Your mind and ego. Your sacral's just there waiting, right? I'm waiting. When's she going to stop listening to that crazy mind and ego that's like took her down so many dead end roads and drama in her life? When's she going to just listen to me, right? It's the mind and the ego that's creating the conflict because it won't let go. It won't let go. So maybe this year in 2024, as I'm going to commit to loving myself, I'm going to commit to not reacting to people, right? I'm gonna commit to using my strategy and see where I end up. Be the adventure, see where I end up by the end of 2025, the new year in 2025. Okay. So that's what I've got for the generators. Okay. So let's go to the MGs. Okay. And so manifesting generators are the other part of the generator family. So 35% are MGs. They also have the open and enveloping order like the generators. They're here to respond. Life is bringing them all these amazing opportunities, and all they have to do is respond from their sacral, and they want to feel fulfilled, the MGs. So what I'm going over manifesting generators are the last two steps before party time in January 22nd. That's the new year. So we follow these steps. And so watch the beginning of my video to learn about what we've been through already. And then January 11th to the 16th, right? We're in the 61. And then January 16th, the 60. And we're there until January 22nd. Okay, so we'll be talking about these last two steps for you. And I gave you some questions to ask and some guidance for how to use this time efficiently. So I've got my ego cards. And so I'm going to pick an ego card for the MGs for this week. It's an important week this week for everybody. Okay, manifesting generators. What they need to know. Okay. So what do you have for our manifesting generator friends? Our manifesting generator friends. Oh, interesting. Okay. This one just sprung out of the deck here. So, so this one is spiritual ego. Spiritual ego. This is the sneakiest of the sneaky egos, is the spiritual ego, and that we all have to face it. So this is spiritual narcissism. Spiritual narcissism. So what does this mean with the 60 and the 61? Okay, so the 61 is all about inner truth. Remember in the beginning of the video, I got you to ask the question, what has blocked me? What blocked me? Blocked my spiritual development in 2023. Okay. So that's the stone, and then you're dropping it into the deep, deep well, and then you're letting go. You're becoming open to whatever answer comes back, right? And that will be your inner truth. So you have to be patient. That's not a quality of the MGs. Doesn't come naturally to them. Okay, so the inner truth. What has blocked me? So let's look at this spiritual ego that will come up. Maybe it's come up in 2023. And so it's sneaky because it can deceive, the spiritual ego can deceive you into thinking that oh, I'm being spiritual, right? I'm being spiritual. I'm on the path, this ego. And so what it's doing is pretending, it can pretend that it's your intuition, your spiritual ego, especially if it's getting you to like isolate or like feel superior to other people, right? Especially like the NPCs, feeling superior to other people in your life, the normies, right? But the thing with the ego, it's a mental self-image. So it's not you, it's a projection. It's a projection of whatever image you have of yourself as a spiritual person, let's say, or a teacher or a healer, right? Well, a teacher or healer would never do that. This is a spiritual ego. Teacher or healer would never say that, or would never swear, or would never eat this or drink that, or right. So it comes with rules, right? It comes with a script, right? So you're not in the present moment at all, right? So it's playing the role. It's like playing a role of a spiritual person. So then you end up serving the spiritual ego, can end up serving the ego and not the divine. Because as a spiritual person, you're serving the divine, right? Not the ego, right? So limited. We're talking about limitation here. So this is a limitation. So MGs, I would reflect back on that 2023 and see where maybe I was limited. Maybe I limited myself because I got caught up. I got trapped by this spiritual ego. I thought it was me and it's not. Right? Reflect on that. And then just had a thought and it disappeared. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about with the spiritual ego. Um, oh, okay, I know what I wanted to say. Because you know what? Life will not support spiritual ego. Okay? Because spiritual ego isn't true, right? It's a lie. Egos are a lie. They don't even really exist, right? So it's a lie. So life will not support spiritual ego. So this is, power is self-policing. Power is self-policing. And that means that if someone is in their spiritual ego, they're going to immediately have a fall from grace, right? Immediately have fall from grace. So maybe you've experienced this. You're having a fall from grace, right? This is attracting to you some sort of limitation. Maybe that's stopping you from teaching or healing or something like that, right? And you're like, why is this happening? If you go into victim, why is this happening? I'm doing everything right. I'm following the script of the spiritual ego, right? The spiritual ego says to do this and that and that, and that means I'm spiritual. right? So it can bring frustration to you, right? So if there's a limitation in your life or has been like last year that's somehow blocking you from from the spiritual ego's projections, right? Of how many clients you should have or how many students you should have, right? That's being blocked because some correction needs to be made, right? Because you're not in your power. Spiritual ego is not in its power. It's using your own personal willpower, right? You're not in the true power, the divine power. Um, the other thing about spiritual ego, it's all the mind. It's the mind, right? So it's intellectualizing spirituality. These are the people that go on and on and on about the 50 states of consciousness and the 25 stages of awakening. They always love the numbers, right? This is intellectualizing spirituality and divinity, and this too is spiritual ego. Ego loves to put things in compartments, right? Um, so if you're trying to figure out spirituality through your mind, that is a crazy fool's game, right? Because the divine is a mystery. It will always be a mystery, right? It's unknown, it's living, right? It's spontaneous, and that's who you truly are too, right? So you're never going to figure it out with your mind. So again, it's kind of like the generators. It's about that had conflict. It's moving from your head, right? From the spiritual ego into your sacral, and what's correct for you. What's correct for you. Yeah. Um, and it's living in the mind. Spiritual ego is living in the mind, and that means you're not in the present moment. You're not tapped into your authenticity. You're not tapped into your divine energy. Okay. There was something else that I have with this spiritual ego thing. It's really tricky, this one, the spiritual ego. Um, so the 60, like I said, so go to your inner truth. Where have I been trying to understand spirituality with my mind? Where have I been fantasizing that I'm this great healer or I'm this great teacher? Right? That's the 61 too. 61 as well. So look at that from 2023. And then let's look at what guidelines you can put down here. This is placing your own limits, right? Well, maybe there needs to be a humbling for the MGs because the fall from grace is a humbling of the ego. That's what happens. It's a humbling of the ego with the fall from grace. This is the dark night of the soul, right? And it creates a limitation. But again, the limitation is the guardrail. It's a power of self-policing, right? So so maybe volunteer yourself for this humbling, the humbling of the ego. And this would mean to let go of the script. I'm just going to let go of the script of I'm going to be spontaneous. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be in the moment. I'm going to be present. I'm letting go of any any mental image that I have of myself as a healer or a teacher. I'm going to just let it all go and I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be authentic. Well, this can be the humbling of the ego. I'm completely walking into the unknown as a manifesting generator, right? I'm responding in the moment. It's all about the now moment in 2024. This is our training wheels. We got our training wheels on for 2024 to get used to living in the present moment and egoless awareness in walking into the unknown. No plans, nothing. Responding in the moment, in the moment. And this is very scary for the ego, right? This is very, very scary for the ego. So this could be some limitations that you like meditate on the guidelines you're gonna put on yourself, right? So that the spiritual ego can't sneak in. And the spiritual ego is sneaky. It's like, I got it, right? I'm better. As soon as I go into I'm better than them, then you know that you're in the ego. And you're in the presence with someone else, and immediately there's a gap between you and that other person. Then you're in the ego and you're in the spiritual ego. Now I'm talking to the teachers and the healers right now, right? As the MGs. Um, what else for spiritually? Sadhana practice. Yeah. And that's meditating every single day. And that's a great way to use this 60, right? There's my limitation. Every morning before I brush my teeth, I use the washroom, and I get down on my mat and I do my sadhana practice. Maybe this is what you use the 60, right? These are the limits that I'm setting for myself in 2024. I meditate every single day, every single day. It could be different meditations, but I'm going to meditate, right? Half an hour every single day. Well, this is going to help with the spiritual ego, because the spiritual ego can't get into sadhana. When you get to a certain vibration, the ego can't live in that atmosphere, right? So there's an idea to work with that 60. Okay. Anything else for the MGs? Just go, if you haven't watched the beginning of the video, watch the beginning of the video. It's worth your while. It's worth your while. Okay. Okay. That's what I got for the MGs. Okay. And let's go to our projector friends. Spiritual ego. Okay. So, projectors, I've got the ego cards out today, and we're going to look at these last two steps as we enter the new year on January 22nd, 2024. And so if you haven't watched the beginning of the video, it's a good idea. And it's always good to watch the other types too, because I'm a projector as well. We like to learn about the other. That's what we're designed to learn about the other and to understand them. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to pick a card for our projector friends. And it has to do with this week leading up to January 22nd. What do our projector friends need to know and to be aware of? Okay. What do we have for our projector friends? Okay, we've got two for the projectors. So firstly, we've got the ego card of failure, and then expectations. It's funny, these ego cards correlate to two shadows here. The 32 and the 42. Oh, isn't that interesting? And they're programming partners. 32 and the 42. Okay, projectors. Okay, 20% of you are projectors. And so focus and absorbing aura. We're here to be recognized by the other and then invite it. And our invitation is to guide the other. And when we're not operating correctly, we're bitter. And then when we're operating correctly, we're feeling successful. Okay. Okay. So projectors, we're in this 61 energy until the 16th. So that's your inner truth. So that's asking the question, what has blocked me? What blocked my spiritual development in 2023? And then you listen for the answer. And then the 60, we enter on January 16th. that goes to the 22nd, the new year, the very last step. And this is limitation. It's a gate of acceptance, but it's all about limitation. So this is about setting limits for yourself for 2024, right? Okay. So where the ego can get in here is failure. These two really work well together, actually. Failure and expectation. So this is the belief. This is what the ego is telling you. That's not true. That you're a failure or you're feeling like you're failing, right? You're believing that you're failing. So let's look at the 60, right? So you come across a limit, a limitation. So life is presented a limitation in your life, right? Uh, which is you're unable to work, right? So maybe you're unable to work here. For some reason, you're sick or something like that, or um, you're sick or you're just unable, whatever reason, you're unable to work. It's a limitation. Well, if you if you have a belief pattern, remember we're letting go of all of our conditioning. Maybe you have a belief pattern that I receive my value, right, by my work. Okay, when I work, then I feel like I'm of value, right? This is what has been taught to me, my conditioning since I was a child. Maybe it goes way back by my work. Well, in comes the limitation because this is wrong, right? This is a wrong belief. It's not true. It's false. Everything that's false has to go, right? So in comes the limitation. I'm unable to work. And what comes up is this. Maybe you had no idea this was even inside you, right? But it brings up all these feelings, these horrible feelings of low self-worth, right? Low self-worth, right? So that's a reason sometimes too that we're limited in life, right? And maybe you're doing the wrong work. There's another way to go at it. Maybe you're doing the wrong work as a projector. Maybe you weren't invited, you weren't recognized, you weren't invited, you're just trying to pay the bills. So you just go out and get anything, right? So you're in the wrong work. Well, the limitation, life will set the limitation, and then you lose your job, right? Your job, and you can feel like a failure. That's the ego. The ego says you're a failure, you can't keep a job, blah, blah, blah. Well, you've got to bypass these thoughts of the mind and the ego and go to like, oh, the limited, to see it as a benevolent thing. Like limitation is a good thing. Like I said in my video, the early part of my video, limitation is a good thing. It's protecting you. It's the guardrail on the highway so you don't run off the cliff, right? That this limitation is getting me out of this job. That's like I'm being called to go somewhere to really guide others in whatever capacity, but I'm in this job because I'm fearful, right? I'm fearful. So limitations can work like that too. This is when you don't set your own limits, then life will step in and set the limits for you, right? um and so failure, this failure, it can come from your ancestors, right? It can come from your ancestors. And it can stop you from trying, can stop you from trying. So that's how it works with the ego, because the subconscious mind, right? One layer of our mind is the subconscious, the unconscious, and then conscious. But the subconscious mind is all our memories. So something happens where I lose my job, and there's the ego, and the ego's digging through your subconscious mind and bringing up all the memories, right, of the other times that you failed, right? So if you're a third line profile, if you've got a 3 in your profile, you're going to really relate to this, right? Third lines have to deal with failure, right? Failure, right? And what they're doing is making discoveries. Okay, so this can keep you from moving forward. This ego saying not only that you're a failure, but I'm going to expect to fail. I'll expect to fail because this happened in the past, subconscious mind memories. So I expect to fail again, you know? So expecting something bad's going to happen, right? So this is negative creativity, right? Negative creativity. I'm creating the worst, right? The worst case scenario with this. Um, okay. So one of the things that I asked you to do in the video is to set limits for yourself. Okay, you're going to set your own limits. So maybe you set limits on this mind chatter. I'm going to, this year in 2024, I'm not going to indulge in failure, thoughts of failure, right? Failure. I'm going to expect the best case scenario. And this isn't according to my ego and mind, right? So this could be something happens, right? I get a flat tire. I get a flat tire. Wait a minute, I was expecting the best and this should never happen. No, this is how you go deeper and you reframe it. It's like I'm expecting the best means that my tire blew because it was stopping me from getting into a horrible accident, right? It was like something really, really way more, way worse for me, right? So you've got to like that, like reframe your mind in that way as a projector, right? So you expect the best case scenario, which is like you always go to the positive, always go to the positive. Maybe that's your commitment, that's your limit. I'm limiting these negative thoughts of failure and fear and doubt. I'm not giving it any time. I'm going to catch it, nip it right in the bud, right? I'm not going to indulge in these thoughts whatsoever. Um, because it's stopping you. You're allowing your mind to stop you. And like I said with the manifestors, it's about timing. Remember I said about the manifestors? It's like sometimes the people are not ready for your initiation. They're not ready for that impact yet. Well, people may not be ready for your guidance yet, right? They may be not ready for your guidance yet. Maybe that person's got to go through the people that you're destined to help and to guide. Maybe they've got to go through their own process and their own shadow work to even get to you, right? For your guidance. So to be patient, to be patient. And this is where the ego, where you're most vulnerable in between invitations, right? When you're in between invitations, that's when the ego, you're more susceptible to an ego attack and an ego mind attack that you're a failure and this is why, and everything bad happens to you. And then meanwhile, your vibration's sinking low and lower and lower and lower, right? So the message here is to really look at last year and then make some limits for yourself this year for 2024. And also as a projector who has access to you, right? So you only want the high vibration invitations, the high quality invitation, not low quality invitations, right? Because your energy, talk about your energy is very limited, right? You got a quarter tank of gas every morning. And you've got to use that efficiently. You know, you can't be wasting your energy. So you're limited in your energy. And it's like, who do you want to serve? Who do you want to help? Well, you want the people that really see you, right? That value you. And they have in giving you a high quality invitation. Okay, so but go back and watch the beginning of the video if you haven't already. It's worth your while. Okay, so let's finish it off with the reflectors, which are 1%. And I always love to hear from the reflectors. So if you could put in your comment box that you're a reflector, we all want to know who you are. Okay. So they've got the resistance sampling aura, follow the moon cycles. They want to feel surprised. And the moon today is in Pisces, and I bet you're feeling it. I'm not a reflector, but I totally feel this Pisces energy, a little bit tired, a little bit unfocused. Um, okay. So I'm going to pick an ego card for you, reflectors. Okay. I like doing the reflectors at the end because they're kind of the wrap up of the all the readings. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. So what do we have for our reflector friends? What do they need to hear? The New Year's coming up, January 22nd. What do they need to hear for this week? What's the ego been up to for the reflectors? Reflectors. Okay. Well, that's the fell on the floor. Well, rejection. Rejection. Whoops. Okay. Reflectors got the rejection card. Okay. Rejection. Okay. Okay, so if you've watched the beginning, you're going to go to your inner truth, right? Find out what's been blocking your spiritual development and evolution in 2023. And then you're going to be setting some limits for yourself for 2024. So this is feeling rejected as a reflector. So maybe you've had some people leaving, right? We've had that 54. That's been the energy of the new moon. 54.6 is people letting go of people not that aren't your soul allies, but maybe some people have been letting you go. They've been letting you go, and you've felt rejected, right? Um, So, what I always say to people with this, because it's one of the six primal wounds of humanity, is people will reject you, especially if you've got that wound, right? But people will reject you. That's not a problem, right? We're not everybody's cup of tea. We're not on everybody's fractal line, right? So they're going to reject you. But the problem is when you reject yourself, right? And this goes back to our childhood, right? So a parent may have rejected you, especially because they don't, reflectors are very misunderstood, right? So rejected by a parent, things that happen in those first 7 years, they repeat into adulthood. And then you reject that part of yourself. So you're rejecting a part of yourself that your parent, your primary caregiver rejected, right? So whatever that is. And this time for you, reflector, is to integrate and to bring all parts back, right? So that's your authentic self. I'm bringing all parts back. I'm going to bring that part of me that I rejected, right? Because this is a limitation, right? Maybe your inner truth is like, I rejected this part of myself. I tried to pretend I'm normal, right? I tried to pretend that I'm normal. I did this to fit in, right? And then I rejected this other part of myself that other people didn't like, or I believe is something wrong, or I can't show this part of myself, or even the fool yourself that isn't part of you, when in fact it is, right? So it's about 2024, it's about bringing all parts. So maybe your limits, let's say, right, your limits that you're here to set for 2024. Well, I limit the time. Remember, it's about your resources. I limit my time that I spend with people who don't accept me, right? Who don't accept me, who I can't show all of myself to. I can only show these parts of myself to because it's too upsetting. right? They don't like what I'm reflecting back to them, right? Maybe you're totally rejecting your reflector self and your sole purpose, right, on this planet as a reflector. So maybe those are the guidelines. I'm going to limit the energy that I spend. I'm not going to spend it, my energy, invest in energy in people that don't accept me and they're right. They can't see me, right? They have no interest in what I have to share, right? My gifts and my talents. I'm going to limit that, limit my time. Because like I said, right, if you don't set limits on yourself for yourself, and remember they're coming from self-love, then life will come in and set limits for you, right? What else for this rejection and limits? Well, when you reject yourself, you're limiting your power, right? You're limiting your power and what you're capable of. Yeah. And the great thing is the moon is moving into Aries. It'll be in Aries this week. So that's good. So you're gonna have some like nice warrior energy here as a reflector, right? Aries. Some nice Aries energy. So you'll have that like backbone, right? Because really the Aries gets a bad rap, but the high vibration of Aries is they're the warrior of the heart. They're the warrior of the heart. So the warrior of self-love, right? The warrior of standing up for yourself and placing limits, right? Boundaries as a reflector for yourself, right? Who has access to your energy, who has access to your time, who has access to your material resources. That's your birthright. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I have for the types. I'm getting a little bit tired as a projector. So that means it's time to um to log off here. But I'm enjoying the Sundays to kind of get people all ready for the week ahead. And a reminder, New Year Superpower online retreat, and I'm so excited to be doing this during this pivotal time, right? The 19th, 20th, 21st. There's so much stuff going on. I feel it's going to really support like a huge mutation for me and the participants. Okay. So there's still time to jump in there. And it's a small group. Somebody asked, you have small groups. My culture, if you know your culture, is called unit. So mine is, 0 to 15, never more than 15. So it's always a small, intimate group. It's just how I'm designed to work with that number of people. And works for me too, right? Okay. So have a good week, and I hope to see you on Thursday for the next live stream. And yeah, this is the time. So really, really take my advice and guidance and get your journal out and start to really get ready for 2024. Okay? Okay, so namalo everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay.